Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Miss Kitchen. Today we are going to be making spring rolls filling. I'm going to be using my oil. If you can use any vegetable of your choice. You add a little bit of that in your pot, then you allow it to heat up a little bit. The next thing I'm going to be adding is my toasted sesame oil. You just need to add any. You can use virgin oil. You can use any oil of your choice, but I prefer to use the toasted sesame oil for a little bit of flavor. Then I add a little bit more. I add a little bit more. Then the next thing is my ground ginger. If you have a fresh ginger, you can use it, but today I'm going to be using ground ginger. So you put it in your pot and you give it a nice stir. Right, you stir it very well so that your ginger will not get burnt. You stir it very well. Then the next thing I'm going to be adding is my ground garlic. You add it. If you have a fresh garlic too, you can also use that one too. There's nothing stopping you from using the fresh garlic. You use it. Then the next thing, I have my already cut onion, so I add it to my pot. You allow it to heat up a little bit, then you stir it. You give it a nice stir so that you don't want your onions to get burnt also too. So you stir it very well. Stir it very well. Then you can lower your heat at this point. You can lower your heat. You can see you can lower your heat. Then the next thing is to add your cabbage. I already prepped my vegetables in order to save my time. So that's my shredded cabbage that I'm adding. I added it. Then I'm going to be adding my carrot. This is my carrot. I already shredded it also. I added it. And I stir it. I'm stirring it so that the onions at the bottom of the pot and the garlic and ginger, they will marinate together. So that's how I'm giving it a nice stir. At this point also, you can also lower your heat. You don't want your vegetable to overcook. Then I'm adding it in batches so that, because as I said earlier, I'm doing a very large quantity of my spring rolls wrap. I'm adding it in batches so that it will give me enough room for me to be able to stir it together. I'm still adding more of my carrot, but if you want to add it at once, it's okay too. So I add it together, then I stir it very well. I just want the onions and the garlic and the ginger underneath the pot to mix together with my vegetable. That's why I'm stirring it very well. So you give it a nice stir. You don't want your vegetable to overcook. You need to, at this point, you can also lower your heat. You can also lower your heat because when you are eating your spring rolls, you want a little bit of crunch in it. So I stir it together. I stir it. You can see some of the carrots at the bottom of the pot. So you make sure you stir it. You stir it very well so that everything will rub off on each other. Okay. So you can see me stirring it and stirring it. I'm stirring it so that it can be able to marinate together. You can see me still giving it a nice stir. So if you have a large quantity of your vegetable, you can do it in batches, just the way I did it. But if you have a very large pot to use, that would be okay too. So for me, this is the pot I'm using, and I can only mix in batches. So I'm giving it a very nice stir so that everything will mix together. And stir it and stir it. At this point, your spring rolls mixed, or you do a large batch. If you don't want to be doing it all the time, you can do a large batch so that you can freeze it. You allow your vegetable to cool down, then you can freeze it. So at this point, I'm adding my seasoning. That's my chicken seasoning. If you can use any seasoning of your choice. The next one I'm going to be adding adobo to it. All this are to give it a very good taste. You can add, this is my complete seasoning too. You add it. As I said, you can use any seasoning of your choice. So you give it a nice stir. You stir it together so that your seasoning will be able to mix with your vegetables very well. You don't want to be eating your spring rolls and some places season and some places some part is not seasoning. So you give it a nice stir. And the next thing, I'm going to be adding my vegetables. I have my sweet corn and my green peas. You can add it to it. You can. It's optional if you don't want to add. The next thing is my onion. With spring roll without spring onions, it will not. I don't know how it's going to taste, but you can do without it also. You give it a nice stir. You give it a nice stir, and you allow your vegetables to cool down. After cool down, you can store it in the large Ziploc and you freeze it. Thank you for watching.